We begin our service remembering Judy Paley as we turn into the book of Psalms for comfort. And I'd like to invite Rabbi Rob Rosenchuk from Fairmount Temple to help us to remember her with these prayers.
Esainai el heharim, me'ayin yavo ezri. I lift my eyes unto the mountains. My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. May God be the guardian, the protection at your right hand. May the sun not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God, guard Judy from all harm. Guard her soul, and her going, and her coming now and forever. Amen. Adonai mi yagur ba'ohalecha, mi yishkan bahar kochecha. God, who may abide in your house, who dwells in your holy mountain, those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lawless but honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may do not retract, who do not exploit others, who never take bribes, those who live in this way, the way in which Judy lived, they shall never, ever be shaken.
And for Judy, who was a woman of valor and so much more, we read these words from Proverbs. A woman of valor who can find? Her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and nothing shall he lack. She renders him good and not evil all the days of her life. She opens her hands to the needy and extends her hand to the poor. She is robed in strength and dignity and cheerfully faces whatever may come. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She tends to the affairs of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children come forward and bless her. Her husband too, and he praises her. Many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty short-lived, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Place before her the fruit of her hands. Wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. Death has summoned our beloved Judy Paley. Our souls cry out unto you, O God. What are we? Are we the creatures of dust whose destiny is but to return to the dust from which we came? The ancient sage has taught us the spirit of the human being is the lamp of the eternal. Not even the darkness of death can extinguish the light which the eternal has kindled in the sanctuary of the human soul. Therefore, O God, we thank you in this solemn hour for that which was deathless in the life of our cherished Judy, and which is now revealed to us in all of its beauty. For her love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship, which we shared along life's path, and which still continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and her mind, which brought us joy and happiness, and now have become a precious heritage of the Spirit. For all these and more we give you our praise. Grant unto us, O God, the strength of all the generations of our people who in the face of bereavement proclaimed, Adonai Natan, v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. God has given, God has taken away. Still, blessed be the name of God. In the Bible, we read the beautiful description of the Garden of Eden, the place God created with the beautiful trees and flowers, fish and birds, and other animals. And then into this perfect setting, God placed two people, Adam and Eve. If you remember your Bible stories, then you'll recall that it did not go so well for Adam and Eve in the garden. Tempted by the snake, they ate from the forbidden tree of knowledge, and consequently they were told they would labor in anguish, she in giving birth, and he by the sweat of his brow to bring forth the earth's yield. Shortly thereafter, lest they also eat from the tree of life, the man and the woman were expelled from the garden. Some biblical commentators account this as the ultimate punishment, and that the quest of life is to be restored in the Garden of Eden. Others see the expulsion from the garden as the opportunity for human beings to be creative, thus giving rise to the rest of humanity's story. For Judy Balanoff Paley, there was a taste of the Garden of Eden here on earth. First, this was evident in the family's deep attachment to Yogi Bear's Jellystone Park, a child's fantasy land with cabins to dwell in, lakes to fish in and swim in, and acres of beauty that offered a playground of fun. The sweet innocence of that garden belied the great responsibility Judy carried as she spent her days laboring to maintain the storybook camp. And then she came to know another kind of labor as she brought forth a beautiful family who would thrive because of her creativity and her commitment to them. To her original partner in the park, Larry, and to her children for whom she labored, Steve and Jeff and Andrea, and to her in-law children, whom she counted as her own, Rochelle, Colleen, and David, and to the fruits of her labors, her grandchildren, Landon, Brianne, Daniel, Ethan, Jonathan, and Julia and Joshua. To extended family here and to dear friends, we offer our deepest condolences. What a shock that still so vital and in the hour of her great joy of joining family for Jonathan's graduation weekend in Columbus, and on the eve of Mother's Day, Judy's life suddenly came to an end. We are saddened for our loss of this special woman who, in the garden of your lives, was indeed the most beautiful flower. Judy was my across-the-street neighbor on Ainsley Road for these last 25 years. Almost daily, we, along with so many of our other neighbors who are here together, would exchange greetings, picking up the newspaper or checking the mail, or as we'd pull out from our driveways, you couldn't miss her yellow convertible, or now her red one. She was a kind of matriarch on our street, in a non-prying way, knowing the street's news and ready with assistance as to the best gardener or snowplow company. She scrutinized these matters with great care, and if Judy used them, that was the highest recommendation you could get. That was true with her recommendations in many areas of life, too. There was a comfortable familiarity about Judy. Because she was so comfortable being herself, she put everyone around her instantly at ease. Strong and determined, self-sufficient, compassionate, and caring. She was the one to whom so many turned for wise counsel on our block, in her work and in her family. A devoted daughter, Judy, born in 1936, was the middle child of Betty and Irv Balanoff, along with her brother Arnold, who was 2 years her senior, and Larry, who was 5 years her junior. Judy enjoyed a kind of charmed, simple life on the 210 acres of the Garden of Eden like Jellystone Park. Larry would remember some of their long drives out to the park and how he, because he had learned to drive at a very young age, once had to drive his sister to the farm when she was experiencing the pregnancy nausea of the twins. Larry and she spent many hours taking care of the place together, managing it, and taking care of each other too. That would be a lifelong commitment that traversed the miles and the generations as Judy kept the families close, welcoming Mia and all the children and attending each other's special occasions, making phone calls often and visits as often as possible. It became a pattern that the family would do a lot of things at younger than average ages. Upon graduating from Cleveland Heights High School at the age of 17, Judy decided to spread her wings and took off to the West Coast, where she began her college experience at UCLA. Expecting that she would study physical therapy, she returned to Cleveland to attend Western Reserve. And not too long after that, she met the handsome Jerry Paley on a kind of family fix-up. They would be married by the time she turned 20. A special twin potion must have been in the water of the home that they would create on Stonehaven Road, because shortly thereafter, Steve and Jeff joined the other 7 sets of twins on their street. And Judy and Jerry joined the Twins Club, where they made lifelong friends. When Andrea came along 5 years later, their family was complete. Judy and Jerry shared a special relationship for almost 49 years. They complemented each other beautifully. He would work hard, and she would see to everything else, from managing the house and the park to making the plans, and many of them included wonderful adventures. They loved traveling together and did much of it, enjoying far-flung places like Australia, China, Singapore, and river cruises through Europe. Many of these were associated with Jerry's work with Commonwealth Lumber, and again became an opportunity not only to see the world, but to collect colleagues and friends at every stop. Jeff and Steve, as they took over the business, would benefit from their parents' associations. Closer to home, much of their life revolved around the park. They spent long days and nights there enjoying the outdoors and working hard to make it an award-winning Jellystone franchise. Well known and respected amongst the other franchise owners, they visited other parks and enjoyed the friendships created as other owners came to their park as well. For Jeff and Steve and Andrea, this was your own Garden of Eden. Your mom let you bring your friends to the park too, and so many of your childhood memories and the memories of so many gathered here were created on those paddle boats and at bonfires. Often Judy would be working and you playing nearby. She'd stop to have lunch with you and check in on you. And as you grew up, you worked alongside her, helping to maintain the facilities and hosted events for 400 to 500 people at a time. Your mom was good company. With her wonderfully dry sense of humor and her sweet laugh, she fell for your antics. And you could often make her laugh until she was crying, washing away any of the consequences of your actions. Judy did not just enjoy her own park, though. She loved any outdoor venue. She and Jerry often visited at the Holden Arboretum, and they enjoyed the vast cultural community of Cleveland, maintaining subscriptions to the outdoor parks at Blossom and Kane Park. And coming inside, they added the front row and the symphony and the playhouse and all of the kids' museums. Judy would enjoy exposing her own children and then her grandchildren to the arts. And if perchance she could not find someone to join her at an event that she wanted to attend, like a Billy Joel or Barry Manilow concert, or even an evening at the movie, she was unself-conscious about doing so alone. Courageous and adventuresome, she allowed for few stumbling blocks to get in her way. Judy and Jerry were partners in every adventure of their lives, and he gave her the vehicle to make life even more so. Celebrating her 60th birthday, Jerry splurged to buy Judy the present that would signal her presence. Her signature yellow car became an extension of herself. I'd see her zipping away or pulling into the driveway at all hours, up early, back late, from a full day of commitments to friends and family. Those commitments would be especially important to her after Jerry passed away in 2005. They had just sold the park and were looking forward to enjoying more time to travel and to be with family when this tragedy struck. But it was her commitment to family and theirs to her that renewed Judy's strength. When it came to family, Judy was the glue of your youth and the bonding agent for the generations. Smart and practical, Judy early on created a system for herself and for others to distinguish the twins. Steve was always dressed in red, and Jeff always sported blue. Not coincidentally, then, these became your favorite colors into adulthood. She nurtured you with your favorite foods, too, making each of you 3 or 4 sandwiches a meal as you were going through the growing phase. Running between her tennis game, yoga or Zumba class, and her volunteer activities at Montefiore and Hillcrest Hospital coffee shops, nonetheless, she always seemed to be there for you, there to stretch your interests, and she made sure that you were a Boy Scout and took piano lessons. She herself was an accomplished pianist, and her husband, Jerry, played the ukulele. Thus, family concerts were a lovely way to pass time. And if Steve couldn't fall asleep, he'd ask her to play the piano downstairs for him, and her smooth rhythms would cuddle him to sleep. She and your father were also at all of your concerts, and after you moved to Ainsley, became part of the Beechwood Band parents, working concession stands at games and chaperoning the group of kids on your travels. They were considered cool parents, young and dynamic, interested in what you were interested in, and fun to have around for people of all ages. Wanting each of you to be independent, Judy split you up in your school and fostered your own personal sense of adventures. Your mom was the one who championed Jeff's desire to go out west, to enter into the film and entertainment industry. Judy loved coming to visit, but she was glad when Colleen convinced you to come back home. She was grateful to you, Colleen, for that and for the special friendship that developed between her and with your mom, Mary. Judy was, for you, your greatest supporter in so many ways with the kids. The only place she meddled was over the Thanksgiving holiday stuffing. One year prior to the holiday, she left you a message inviting you to rethink what she considered the dry stuffing. As you know, she herself was a perfectionist, and that was evident as well in her cooking. She was noted for her chocolate mousse pie and other fabulous desserts. And when she didn't feel like cooking, she could count on joining Jeff for their private Sunday mornings. These brunches, these last 11 years, were very special to you and to her, as time to exchange confidences and catch up on each other's lives. And when Steve decided the week after getting his driver's license that he wanted to drive up to Canada with a bunch of boys, Judy trusted you and advocated for you with your father. That was her common role. In her quieter moments, the two of you shared a love of crossword puzzles. She did hers every day to make sure that her mind stayed sharp, and complemented that with a glass of wine taken from the beautiful wine rack that you'd made for her in high school. You and Rochelle kept her close by, attending to whatever she needed and making sure to fill her days with the fun of running a very busy family along with you. For Andrea, Judy was not only a mom, but a best friend and a business partner. Although you had the typical mother-daughter kinds of arguments in your youth, at home, you quickly became her right hand and greatest company at the park, and the two of you would run the graveyard shift with her returning home after 2 a.m. On those times when you'd sleep over there, she was more likely to let you off the hook for throwing a wild party than was your father. Judy was the supportive presence in your life, and you counted on her like you could a best friend, there to share confidences and challenges along the way. And your mom depended on you too, especially to maintain the park as she decided to take a little bit time off. She was proud when you started to be the award winner also. And when David came into the family, he quickly fit into the family culture and the Yogi Bear suit. These appearances of yours before movies helped to entertain the kids and to help Judy greatly. Judy was the one, however, to entertain all of your children. She was the energy bunny that kept up with all of you at your activities in your younger years, showing up for sporting events and musical concerts. Every bar bat mitzvah was a great joy for her, and Jewish holidays at her home meant that the street was full of cars. We could always tell when there was a new driver in the family. She loved when you'd all come and visit, and you'd often find her in her chair in front of her television watching her bird feeder. She tried a lot of different bird feeders until she found the one that squirrels couldn't get into. Able to manage many of you kids at a time, she would invite you out to Cedar Point to ride the newest roller coaster, or take you on vacation to Nickelodeon in Florida, on family cruises, and even on a real African safari. Brianne got to know her as her tent mate and rediscovered how easygoing your grandmother was about some of those inconveniences of safari life. Judy was honored to be included as well in Julia's bat mitzvah trip to Israel, and was able to keep up with all of the hikes and activities, even kayaking down the Jordan River. What a lovely way for all of you to grow closer. And when kids were far away at school, you could depend on her cards for every occasion. Sans check, of course. She liked to mess with you a little bit. But she'd send you care packages with lovely notes addressed specifically to you and filled with your favorite treats, even if she'd mail them to the wrong one of you. But she would not mix up your needs and concerns. She was a great consultant to each of you, making sure to give you the encouragement and advice you needed to hear. A good sounding board. She was always there for each of you. And she helped you through many rites of passage. When you turned 16, you were allowed to drive her yellow convertible around the block. Some of you took it a little further. Then after a car accident, because of some blood pressure medication that she was taking, that car became a red one. When each of the grandchildren turned 18, she made it possible for you to attend college debt-free. She was generous in so many ways, and she celebrated with you at the conclusion of your college years too. And no doubt that day will be a mixed memory for Jonathan. She was so excited to be with all of you in Columbus and to share your special day of graduation from OSU. But Saturday evening after dinner, she didn't look so well, so Colleen thought she should go to the emergency room. Though her vitals belied the difficulty she was having, she was admitted to the hospital, and then tragically, because of a blood clot, passed away that night. In tribute to his grandmother, Jonathan affixed the graduation card she had given him onto his cap, making it possible for family to find that one head in the midst of 10,000 graduates from the stadium, and perhaps for Judy to find him from above. It is with a heavy heart that we greet this moment in time. A beautiful woman, both outside and inside, who made this world beautiful and more fun, who created a beautiful Garden of Eden, not only as a place, but a place within our hearts, is now gone. No doubt her presence will continue to be felt in the hearts and the deeds of her family as you continue to live with her spirit abiding in each of you. May the wonderful memories you have of your mom, your grandmother, your sister, your aunt, your relative, and all of us as our friend bring strength and comfort to you. As we now join with the sages to declare Zichrona Livracha, may her beautiful memory be our precious blessing. Amen. In the Proverbs, Women of Valor, a mother is called blessed when her children rise up to call her blessed. And so we invite Judy's children, Jeff and Steve and Andrea, to share some of their memories. And as the grandchildren gather together, Ethan and Josh and John will have a few words and memories to share. And finally, her brother, Larry.
So, for those who don't know me, my name's Jeffrey, and I'm Judy's son. For those who do know me, I'm not my brother Steve. Growing up as a young father, or husband, I should say, there's 4 things you really need to take into account and never do. The first one is, if you're running late, call your wife, let her know you're going to be late. Number 2, give her a hug and a kiss and tell her you love her every once in a while. Number 3, try not to have an affair. And number 4, don't ever tell her that you'd like her to cook the food just like your mother does. I remember that day pretty well. We were sitting in the kitchen, she was at the counter, and I, for some reason, just let that fly, and innocently enough. And all of a sudden, her visage changed. Heard some crackling of electricity, and the lights went out. The birds stopped chirping, and a cloud went over the sun. And with some Jedi crazy woman mind trick, her mouth didn't even move, but I heard the words, "Luke, I am your wife, not your mother. If you wish to join forces with me, you will eat the food that I prepare you. Remember, you are married to me, not your mother." So, after a little marriage counseling and 2 lawyers, we came to the conclusion that she would at least learn how to make one of the chocolate pie recipes, just in case. And she did. She did a good job, and also my sister, Andrea, my sister-in-law Rochelle, and my Aunt Margaret in Denver all know how to make it, so we should be good for the next 10 years or so. What a great way to remember a loved one when they're gone. Each family holiday meal, you can have a little bit of mom there. And to give you an example of her care and loving when she used to make her desserts, which were legendary, she would always announce every year that she officially ordered her Northern Spy apples from Michigan that usually are only available for 2 weeks, I believe. And those are the only apples worth making an apple pie out of. So, and everybody else is nuts. So just in a little kind of pennies from heaven moment, we were in her freezer just 2 nights ago, and my uncle said, "Hey, there's 2 apple pies." So we took one of them home, and last night had it with the family dinner, and it was just kind of a final way to say goodbye to Mom, having one of her last pieces of pie. And I told my wife after she made it, as I always told my mom after every time she made every dessert, this is the best pie ever. Thanks.
Not as good as my brother. I don't speak as well, so I'm going to be as short. I was also afraid he was going to say what I was going to say because we have the same DNA, but happily he didn't. So I am Steve. I'm one of the twins. And two things to just really start out so we don't get asked this later. I'm 5 or 7 minutes older, so I'm the older one, and Jeff does not have a mustache. I do. So if you remember Steve Stash, you'll always get us right. Hope that helps. Most of who I am today is because of my mom. The good qualities, at least. I do have some of those. We three kids were lucky enough to have our mom at home helping us with all the things the kids do. Schoolwork, after-school activities, having lunches ready when we came home from school, endless allergy shot appointments, ballet lessons for my sister, not for me. My mom drove us everywhere, and we drove her crazy. She taught us to be good kids, always to say hello to people when you walk into a room, smile, be friendly, and be kind. Follow the rules, and of course, stand up straight. My mom always had an opinion on things, and she was never afraid to share them with us, good or bad. I might have gotten a little of that from her by mistake. But she had a heart of gold and always meant things for the best. This quote I found kind of says it all. We all die. The goal isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will. That was my mom. I remember so well through junior high and high school, as we were sitting at the kitchen table waiting for dinner, my dad would just be getting home. He would walk in from the back hallway and into the kitchen, where my mom was getting dinner ready, gave her a big hug and a kiss, turned to us when we were sitting at the table and said, "Isn't she beautiful?" She was a beautiful person, and we were so lucky to have her for so long.
Well, I'm Andrea. I'm the youngest child of the family. And a lot of what I was going to say was already stated, which normally happens with the youngest child. But just a few things about my mom. Again, she was my mother, my best friend. The one thing I'll miss is that phone call I can't make to her anymore if there's an answer I needed that I couldn't get from anybody else. Over the last few years, my brothers and I wanted Mom to downsize. She's stayed in our home that we had been in for actually since 1969. However, not even verbalizing it, we knew the reasons for staying were the memories of my father and our family that she never wanted to leave behind. Mom, as always, things worked out as you planned. There are so many more things that I could share, but I'd like to end with the Mother's Day card that I was going to give her this past Mother's Day. Mom, all my life, I've never gone without love or care or knowing that I really matter to someone from the very beginning. You've been there for me with love, guidance, and support, no matter what, and the more I see of the world, the more I realize what a rare thing that can be. You were a wonderful mother, and I just wanted to say that you are mine. Mom, your memories will be with us forever. You mean more to us than you'll ever know. You are not only my mother, but my best friend. Our hearts are aching, and we will miss you, but you will now be reunited with the love of your life, our dad, your husband, and loneliness no more.
So if I were to cast an actress to play my grandmother in a movie, it would be Maggie Smith. Some of you may know her as Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter, or maybe as Violet Crawley from Downton Abbey. But every time I see her on screen, I think of my grandma Judy. Because she is tough as nails, she is bold and full of life, but most importantly, she is never afraid to voice her opinions. Like my grandmother, Maggie Smith is excellent at ruffling people's feathers, but that doesn't stop her from being everyone's favorite character.
In her kitchen, there is a sign that states, "Grandchildren are your reward from God for not killing your children." From day one, she treated us as those gifts, instilling a deep sense of culture and a love of chocolate into our daily lives. Grandma Judy was our gateway to the world. She had season passes to Broadway musicals and more flight miles than you can count. We all fondly remember watching her favorite musicals and concerts with her and traveling to every corner of the world. Some of these trips included a safari in Africa, magic in Disney World, an adventure in Niagara Falls, and a bat mitzvah in Israel. These memories have shaped what we will be sharing with our loved ones in our own futures. The miles traveled, songs sang, and the chocolate pie shared with this amazing woman will be cherished, and we wanted to take this time to thank you, Grandma, for every last memory.
It should be no surprise to anyone who has been to her house that she loved her family, because every flat surface is filled with pictures that bring back nostalgic times shared together, as well as fuel for blackmail if any of our friends or future relationships ever got a hold of them. She was at every school, music, or sporting event, even the ones we didn't invite her to. She would call time to time and remind me of a band concert that I was not even aware of, scolding me for not letting her know about it. I had to tell her, "Honestly, Grandma, this one is news to me too." Her laugh was something that I always strived to hear, because laughing together is always when I felt closest to her. Grandma was well aware how much I enjoyed fun and silly things. For any and all occasions that anyone could possibly celebrate, Grandma was ready with a card that sang a song when opened. I would stick them all on my bulletin board in my room. By around August of every year, I had enough of an ensemble collected to form what sounded like a haunted choir every time a gust of wind blew by and opened them all in unison. Her commitment to a good joke was never lost, as she gave me a present every Mother's Day because it happened to fall on a Sunday as well. For anyone who was wondering, yes, I am wearing this shirt with mine and my grandma's face on it because she loved it as much as I did. I lost my grandma on the night before my graduation from college. The thoughts of me not sure if I was going to be able to walk and receive my diploma with everyone else was quickly replaced with the voice of my grandma yelling at me for thinking such nonsense. Even though she was not able to be there in person, I brought her along through her graduation card to me, which I attached to my hat so she could watch over me as she always had. I feel blessed to have spent her final hours in her company, sharing in those last laughs I cherish so much. A part of her final words shared to me before she passed included words of pride and encouragement for my future. I intend not to let her down. Grandma, you are finally back with Papa, happily watching Broadway shows together, traveling the world, and feeding the birds.
Well, I didn't realize, but I think it's been very clear that Judy had always had the last word. And I'm her little brother. She was my big sister. And as you probably, if you knew Judy also, one thing she did love to do was read. She always had a lending library of books in her house. And it must have been by chance that I came across something that I'm sure would be the advice she'd give every one of us today as she has passed on, because these are her final bits of what we ought to be doing. They're written by Nicholas Evans, who wrote The Horse Whisperer. I don't know if she ever read it, and this is from The Smoke Jumper. But I think it says exactly what she's probably thinking right now. And that's, if I be the first of us to die, let not grief blacken long your sky. Be bold yet modest in your grieving. There is a change, but not a leaving. For just as death is part of life, the dead live on forever in the living. All the gathered riches of your journey, the moments shared, the mysteries explored, the steady layering of intimacy stored, the things that made us laugh or weep or sing, the joy of sunlight, snow, or first unfurling of the spring, the wordless language of look and touch, the knowing, each giving and taking. These are not flowers that fade, nor trees that fall and crumble, nor are they stone, for even stone cannot the wind and the rain withstand. And the mighty mountain peaks in time to reduce to sand. What we were, we are. What we had, we have. A conjoined past, imperishably present. So when you walk the woods where once we walked together, and scan in vain the dappled bank beside you for my shadow, or pause where we always did upon the hill to gaze across the land, and spotting something, reach by habit for my hand, and finding none, feel sorrow start to steal upon you. Be still, close your eyes, breathe, listen for my footfall in your heart. I am not gone, but merely walk within you.
Each of us has precious memories of Judy. We take a moment now as we silently compose the eulogy of our own hearts. Yehiyu l'ratzonim reifi v'hegyon libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri v'goali. May not only the words that we speak, but even our most precious meditations and private memories be acceptable to you, our God, our rock, and our Redeemer. Amen. We ask God to accept Judy's soul with the words of El Malay. Please rise. El Malay Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashechina, Im Kiroshim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Batya Bat Yitzchak Berivka, Shel Halcha Olama. Baal Harachamim, Yastireha Beseter Kanafav Olamim, Bitzror Hachaim Et Nishmata. Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava, v'nomar, Amen. O compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Judith Paley, Batya, daughter of Yitzchak and Rivka, who has entered now unto eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us answer, Amen. You may be seated. Our service continues at the Mayfield Cemetery, and the family invites you back to to Judy's residence at 26498 Ainsley Road in Beechwood. Following the service today until 8 p.m., and the family will observe Shiva hours Thursday from 1 to 4 and 7 to 8:30, and on Friday from 1 to 4.